I'm John Quarton. I'm the director of the Petrick Idea Center at Illinois Wesleyan University. The Petrick Idea Center will be a state-of-the-art 50,000 square foot living, learning, and creating community that we'll be building right here on the beautiful campus of Illinois Wesleyan University in the southwest corner of the quad between Buck Memorial Library and the Memorial Center. You can see a rendering over my shoulder. It will have flexible common areas, fully equipped maker and creator spaces, and residential capacity for up to 80 of the university's most innovative and entrepreneurially minded students. Here, all students at Illinois Wesleyan, across every major and discipline, will practice collaborative, cross-discipline creativity with a conscience as they live, learn, and create, develop their skills, and launch the products, services, and initiatives that become the virtuous solutions to vital problems. The Petrick Idea Center will offer students, alumni, and the community lifelong learning and engagement opportunities. This quarterly innovation series that we introduced last January is a perfect example of what's to come. This series features alumni like our guest speaker today and university supporters who are creating, changing, and disrupting the products and services that will exist in the mid-21st century economy. Today is Giving Tuesday, a global day of giving where philanthropic-minded individuals give back to the causes most near and dear to them. It's a very important day here at Illinois Wesleyan because many of our passionate alumni, parents, and friends choose to give back to IWU with either a monetary gift or through volunteer options. If you'd like to make a contribution or sign up for a local, regional, or virtual volunteer opportunity with Illinois Wesleyan, go to iwu.edu/giving-tuesday to learn more. I'm sure we'll probably drop a link there in the chat if we haven't done so already. A few housekeeping items before we get started with today's webinar. You are viewing this webinar as an audience member, and therefore you will not have the ability to turn on your video or microphone. Questions can be submitted at any time through the Q&A feature. Our speaker will answer questions at the end of the presentation. If you have a technical issue, you may reach out to the Office of Alumni Engagement at 309-556-3145 or by email to iwualum@iwu.edu. A recording of today's webinar will be available to view on the Office of Alumni Engagement YouTube page. You'll be sent a link and a short survey in the days ahead. Illinois Wesleyan is very honored to have 2012 alumnus Will Jenkins as the fourth speaker of our innovation series. Will is co-founder and director of business development at MoLo Solutions. He has developed a deep passion for supply chain and logistics, along with coaching and developing people. His strategic vision and operational direction have been instrumental to the company's growth since 2017. MoLo Solutions was acquired by ArcBest in November of 2021. And since that point, Will is focused on growing the sales group while helping with the integration of the two organizations. Currently, Will serves on the board of a few local charities, C4 Chicago and Greater Good Foundation. He graduated from Illinois Wesleyan, as I said, in 2012 with the bachelor's degree in business administration and was a member of the football team, playing the cornerback position. Outside of business, Will loves to travel. He loves to work out, try new restaurants, and spend time with his family. Will, great to see you today. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, John, thanks for having me. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. We'll get started. I appreciate the wonderful intro. All right, so when I first spoke with John about what I wanted to talk about, I figured it would make sense to go through the journey I've had from the point that I was at Wesleyan until we started MoLo, and then our exit last November and what we've been up to since that point. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to speak with you all today, and I look forward to answering some questions at the end. As John mentioned, I did play football at Wesleyan. This picture is very old, about 11 years now. So this is from the fall of 2011. I played corner, really enjoyed my time, and it was a lot of fun to have the opportunity to get an education from Wesleyan, but also have the opportunity to still keep playing football. I'm from Maywood, which is the west side of Chicago, near Oak Park, for anyone that's familiar. And as John mentioned, I graduated in 2012, but a little blurb I put up there about me is that when I first got to Wesleyan, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And I think it's important to kind of talk a little bit about this part of the journey, because when I worked through a handful of things and got into Wesleyan. I felt like it was a great fit for me to be able to study bio. And my mom and dad both worked in hospitals my entire life, so I thought that's where I wanted to be. And I got a sales job my first summer right before freshman year. And I realized that sales and entrepreneurship was a much better fit for me. And so that's how I pivoted into the business administration degree. So I'll talk a little bit about my professional experience and some of the working world stuff here. So that first job I mentioned was selling Cutco kitchen cutlery. I'm sure some people that are watching this here either own Cutco or have seen it before, or maybe had somebody that that had the job. But that was my first job at 18 years old. And I mentioned that because it taught me so much about how to build rapport, how to go out and find new customers, really gave me that taste of the entrepreneurial spirit. And I've got a lot of really, really good mentors and strong relationships that I built back from when I was 18 that are still good friends today. And it taught me a lot about what I know in terms of going out and building a business and being a true entrepreneur, building something from nothing. So it was a great experience, and a shout out to Wesleyan. They gave me the opportunity to not only continue working there while I was in school, but also earn my internship while I was working with them for a summer. So between my sophomore and junior year, I had the opportunity to earn internship credits while running an office for Vector, and it was just a transformational experience. It was really my first taste of entrepreneurship. And through that opportunity, I also met some really, really good friends that got me into the industry that I'm in today, which is transportation. So the next logo you see up there is Kimberly-Clark Professional. That was my first job out of college. So you all know them from Kleenex and Huggies, stuff like that. So that was the first job I had in July of 2012 after graduating Wesleyan. And it was such a good experience to get an opportunity to work with a company as large and as impactful as Kimberly-Clark. I think, when you get done with school, you're looking for something that you feel is going to be a career opportunity, a place where you can grow and develop. And I was, fortunate enough to have an opportunity to interview for the role at Kimberly-Clark on campus. I'm a big advocate of the Hart Career Center. I spent a lot of time there while I was a student. And because of Warren, actually, ended up interviewing for the job at Kimberly-Clark, worked there. And, I'm really appreciative for everything that I learned there. A lot of the skills that I have today around presentations, professional sales, understanding how to work through a sales cycle, I learned, in the early years at Kimberly-Clark. So very appreciative for that time. But when I left Kimberly-Clark, I was looking for something that I thought was going to be a little bit more fast-paced, more of a family-oriented style role. And I wanted to be able to impact a company on a greater scale. Kimberly-Clark's a massive company. They're probably $15 billion at the point that I worked there. And so I wanted something that was a little bit smaller, where I felt that I could grow a little bit quicker. So I mentioned my time at Cutco early on in my career. Well, a couple of my good friends that I sold Cutco with actually worked at this company here, Coyote. And so when I was there at Kimberly-Clark, a couple of my friends mentioned the opportunity at Coyote. I interviewed for it, and I realized it was going to be a really, really good fit for me. And so just to preface a little bit about what they do, and this was my first foray into transportation, they are a freight brokerage. So essentially what they do is move freight from point A to point B, and they don't own any trucks. They just leverage relationships with drivers and customers. So think about companies like Walmart or Pepsi or Coca-Cola. All of them have freight across the country that needs to be moved from point A to point B. And a company or a freight brokerage like Coyote goes out and finds drivers that are available to pick up and deliver shipments across the country. Customer pays you a certain amount of money. You pay the driver for their time, and you make the money in between. You do it over and over and over again. So that was my first foray into transportation. I loved it. It's a very fast-paced industry. I'll talk a little bit about that. Tons of growth opportunity there. If you just think about everything that you're looking at today, whether it's a table or light or food and beverage, anything like that, it was on a truck or a train or something like that at some point. And so it's a massive industry with a lot of opportunity. So I really enjoyed my time there. I had the opportunity to move to an asset-based transportation company, which is this logo here on the right, Transport America. And, what was interesting about that, and I'll talk about the differences, it was a cool opportunity for me to be able to work for a company that actually owned their own trucks. And that was a different sales process and different sales experience. And so it gave me a really good footprint for understanding, okay, what's the difference between a brokerage, which is what I was when I worked at Coyote, and what's the difference between an asset-based company that actually owns tractors and trailers and can position that to customers. It was also a really good career opportunity. I was able to help, build and scale the brokerage here in Chicago. And so it was a good move. This would have been January of 2017. So I was at Coyote from January of 2014 through 17. And then I went to Transport America in January 2017. I want to talk a little bit about failure and my first venture, which is super important, I think, for perspective. And my first venture I started, it was called Sonolo. And I was actually working on this during the time that I was at Coyote. And I went through a
Well, I
program.
just need to call a quick timeout. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but your slides aren't advancing that the audience is seeing. So if you'd go ahead,
Okay.
put it either in presentation mode or however you want to handle it, that's up to you. Thank you.
Which slide can you see now?
We're seeing the title slide.
Ah, shoot. Okay, let me go back. Can you see that now?
Yes, I can.
Cool.
You're
Does it say my first venture?
Yes, it does.
Okay, sweet. So my first venture, I started while I went through a startup program called Founder Institute. And, it was really cool to have mentorship and the opportunity to start in somewhat of an incubator style. So if you think about like Techstars and stuff like that, very similar foundational setup here at Founder Institute. It's a company, or it's based here in Chicago. And I mentioned earlier my time selling Cutco while I was in college. And so during that time period, I was a 1099 independent contractor. And so when you're a 1099, you don't get a standard W-2, so they don't take out your taxes. You kind of run it like your own business. And I saw an opportunity to be able to help people essentially manage their expenses so that come tax time, you got the right amount of write-offs and we're able to keep more money in your pocket. That was the idea and the whole point behind the app Sonolo. And if I click to the next one, you'll see that it was a failure. So, this is something that I love to share with people because failing is just a part of entrepreneurship. Not every idea is going to be perfect. Not every idea is going to, come to fruition. I spent, a fair amount of money trying to get the idea off the ground. And I also learned a ton through that process. And so those things are pieces that I take with me, that I've taken with me throughout my entire career that kind of help me keep things in perspective. But what's important is, what did I learn? So the first thing I think is most important is that you can't do anything by yourself. You need to have an incredible team and the right people around you. And so this was something that I tried to do as a solopreneur. So one person, doing business development, trying to build out the app and figure out the best way to position it. And so I learned that if I ever wanted to build and scale a company, I needed to have the right people. I needed to be able to have the right resources, mentorship, and things of that nature. And so that was something I learned from that. And also I learned that it's okay to fail. I'm somebody that you think about the rigor and the challenges of going through a school like Wesleyan, right? You're a high achiever, you're looking to do your best in every aspect of your life. And sometimes, you don't always achieve the goals that you want and you fall short, but those are learning lessons. So it was really important for me to be able to go through that. That was 2015 and 2016, but it didn't discourage me from wanting to be an entrepreneur. So I'll talk a little bit about MoLo, and this is such a funny picture because we all look so young, but this is from July of 2018. And from left to right, these are the individuals that I co-founded MoLo with. So on the left here in the striped shirt, to my right in the picture is Andrew Silver. He is our CEO. And I actually met Andrew while I worked at Coyote. So, one thing that I always tell people that's super important is that you never know the relationships that you're going to be able to build and foster. We worked together when I was at Coyote. He was actually a manager of mine at one point. And his family actually started Coyote Logistics. So, great resource, incredible background and understanding the industry, incredible leader. So I'm glad to have had the opportunity to start the business with him and learn from him as I have. To the left of me in the picture is Matt Vogrich. He's got on the blue plaid shirt with the yellow logo. He's our COO and president. Incredibly sharp, hardworking individual. One of the smartest people I've ever had the opportunity to work with. He actually came to the industry from IBM, so outside of the industry, and took to it very, very fast. And then all the way to the far right in the picture is Stephen Mathis. He's got on the white long sleeve there. He and I actually work together at Coyote as well. And, he's our top sales rep today, has been an incredible contributor to the business as a whole. His leadership and ability to continue to just help us grow has been instrumental. And a moment ago, I talked a little bit about starting a business with the right people and not being able to do everything on your own. We wouldn't be where we are today without all of these individuals and everyone on our team today. But all of us had different characteristics, different strengths, things that we were able to do early on and are still able to do today that help us grow as a company. And so I'm incredibly appreciative for all the differences that we have, because I think that allowed us to be the business that we are today. And we all brought unique things to the organization that helped us grow. So who are we? If you did a little research, you might have, learned a little bit about, the offices that we have and the team that we are. So the picture up here, we have an office in Nashville and our main office is in Chicago and the West Loop. I'll tell you all a little bit about our story and how we came up with the idea to start the company and, what the thought process was. But, I've been in transportation now coming up on 9 years in January. And I've seen a lot of different ways for people, a lot of different ways that people build and scale businesses. One thing that we noticed before we started MoLo, though, was that there was still a hole in the market in terms of service and how people provided that to shippers and how people treated drivers and the environment that people worked in. I say this because it's important to understand that not everything in transportation is always black and white. There's some gray areas, especially when you look at the service that people provide to their shipping partners. And so when we started the company, we said, if we're going to commit to a customer, we're going to do exactly what we told them we were going to do. We're not going to go back on our word. We're not going to come back and ask them for more money or, change the contract that we set up with them. We're going to do what we said we were going to do. And early on, when we started the company, a lot of people said, hey, I don't know that that's going to be an important differentiator, or I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to make people want to work with you or add you as a carrier. And as we get through a couple slides here, I'll kind of show you the importance of that and how it helped us scale. But today, we're looked at as the top truckload freight brokerage in the industry. We have incredible recommendations and, awards, accolades that kind of talk about the service that we provide. And so when you think about building and scaling a business, at the end of the day, your customers are right. And the service that you provide them allows you the opportunity to continue to get their business. If you don't service their business well, they're not going to continue to work with you. And so we wanted that to be the cornerstone pillar for building the organization. And it really, really helped us get to where we are today. You talk about drivers, they are the backbone of the transportation industry. Like I said earlier, everything that you see was on a truck or a train at some point. And it's so important when we think about being able to treat them well and make sure that they are respected, because oftentimes they're not. I've been in the industry for a while and I've seen a lot of different ways that people talk to drivers or go about, compensating them and things of that nature. And we said, drivers really are the core part of our business when you think about actually executing for a shipper. And so we need to make sure that we treat them better than anyone else, because if we don't, guess what? They're going to go somewhere else and haul a load for a different brokerage. When if we treat them well, they provide incredible service to us. We continue to build a strong network and we're able to help our customers. So that's another really, really huge piece of how we decided to build the business. And the last piece up there is a better environment for our people. It's a fast-paced environment. Transportation can be challenging. There's a lot of things that are going on all the time. And it's important to make sure that people have an environment where they feel like they're contributing to something bigger than themselves, where they feel like they have the right team and the right support to be able to grow. And when I think about the types of stuff that we've been able to do from a training perspective, career opportunities, the office that we have today, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it's an incredible space here in the West Loop of Chicago. We really wanted to make sure that we were top of the line in terms of setting the standards for those things in our industry. And our people have been able to grow and develop throughout their time here. And we've also received some incredible accolades around being a top workplace in Chicago, actually 4 years running. And I think that speaks volumes to the kind of environment that we've been able to create for our people. But it's fundamental to have that, because at the end of the day, the experience that they provide to our shippers and our carriers and to their colleagues is what makes us who we are. And so that was extremely important as we thought about what it looked like to build this organization. So just a simple blurb about, our mission and what we're looking to do. I really do think it's extremely important to make sure that at the core of your business are your customers and your people. And for us, our customers are the people that we ship for and the drivers that work with us. And then we think about our people. We know that it's extremely important to make sure that if you handle those things the right way, respect your people, make sure you create the right environment, you're going to have the opportunity to grow and scale. And I want to talk a little bit about some of our numbers here in a little bit, but these are the things that we think are fundamental to helping us get to where we have been. Talk a little bit about our difference. So, I mentioned service a moment ago, our strong carrier relationships and things of that nature. When we think about what is going to differentiate you from the rest of the market, transportation is a massive, massive industry, and shippers have a ton of options, right? If you give them the top level of service, they know what they're going to get when they come to you. They know that you're going to execute for them. They know that every time they come to you, they're not going to have to worry about, gosh, did MoLo pick up that shipment? Or are they going to be on time, right? Are they going to handle it the right way? We know that if we perpetuate that brand in the market, we're the strongest at that piece. We're going to be able to continue to grow, and it's paid dividends for us. So I'll talk a little bit about our growth. So when you look at revenue numbers, 2018, we did $40 million in revenue, 2019, $130 million. But what I want to focus on is 2020 to 2021. All of us know what happened in 2020, the pandemic, and it was obviously extremely disruptive for our industry. So we sent all of our people remote in March of 2020. And it was something that was incredibly challenging because it's such a collaborative industry. You think about being able to get up and go talk to one of your coworkers or kind of work through a challenge or whatever while you're in the office. And so, you send everybody remote. And now you're relying on Zoom meetings. We use Slack, so Slack messages, emails, things of that nature. You got to make sure that you're continuing to communicate at a level that allows people to be collaborative and still get the same feel as if they're in the office. And to be honest, I was concerned about, what that was going to be like. Are we going to be able to provide that same level of service to our customers and create the same environment? And our team responded impeccably well. So if you look at the growth from 2020 to 2021, north of $300 million in growth year over year. And a lot of that came because the way that we service our customers was above and beyond for what the rest of the market was doing. And I'll tell a couple of stories. So one of our large customers is Anheuser-Busch. We started working with them in 2018. We were a small partner for them at that point, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to grow and develop our network so that we could continue to get more and more shipments from a shipper like that. Because if you've got brand recognition in the market and Anheuser-Busch gives you more and more business, the rest of the players in the market are going to give you an opportunity because they see that you're able to work with a brand of that size. And so when the pandemic happened in March of 2020, it was interesting to kind of work through rates and pricing and transportation. So the first 2 months of the pandemic, March and April, we saw a decline in rates. So things got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But from May on, it got more and more expensive. So we're thinking 25, 30, 40% more expensive to cover shipments from point A to point B across the country. And so we had two choices that we can make. You either go to shippers like Anheuser-Busch and you say, hey, these rates that we gave you that were supposed to be good for a year, we can't honor them, right? We need to get more money to move the shipments because it costs more. That's one option. The second option is deal with the challenges of finding the right partners to cover the freight, absorb some of those losses, right? Continue to build, give them the service that you promised that you would give them and grow that relationship. And we chose the latter. And that's extremely important in the journey of building this business because customers like that don't forget how you treated them during the challenging times. And they are some of our best partners today, which helped us grow to where we are because we were the carrier partner that they could rely on. It's really easy for everybody to be good at what they do when things are easy. It's tough to be good at what you do when things are challenging. It was an extremely pivotal moment for our organization. And Anheuser-Busch actually awarded us their Carrier of the Year award in 2021, which we found to be, extremely impactful. We were 4 years in, still a very new organization. And to get a recognition like that from a company like Anheuser-Busch was, extremely impactful. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the accolades and awards. Top left, you see 13 on Financial Times, fastest growing companies. We were just recently awarded by Niagara Bottling their Carrier of the Year for the Northeast. Brill's a baking shipper, broker of the year, the Anheuser-Busch Carrier of the Year award that I talked about. But the ones to me that are most impactful and that, I really have a lot of pride in are the ones here about our workplace. So 2022 top workplaces, workplaces in Chicago, 2019 to 2022, Inc. Best Workplaces. And I think all of you have, certainly heard companies talk about, our culture is incredible, or, we have a great workplace. But I think it's really, really cool to have the opportunity to have those things validated by people and that look at, your organization and say, hey, is it all that it's cracked up to be? And do your people have the opportunities to feel like this is the place that they want to be? And so that's something that, we really have a lot of pride in. And I look at being able to continue to grow our culture and grow the business that we have. And that's at the core, certainly at the core of it. So John mentioned earlier, our business was acquired in November of 2021 by ArcBest. They're based out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. It was an incredible opportunity for us to still have the opportunity to grow and scale the organization. So talk a little bit about how we got to that point. So during 2020 and 2021, we're looking at continuing to raise capital to grow the business. Transportation or freight brokerage is a very capital intensive business. It costs a lot to continue to add people. You've got technology, things of that nature that you're paying for. And so in order to scale the business, you have to make sure that you have the right capital and the partners behind you to build. And so as we're looking at the options to grow and scale the business, you either take on investment capital or you find a good strategic partner like ArcBest that has the right team behind them, obviously the right amount of capital to help us continue to grow and build the business. But what's most interesting is that you think about the decisions that we make and what it looks like to build and scale the business. And at the core of that are our people. And we felt like it was the best decision for the business and for our people, for their careers and for the opportunities to continue to scale, for us to have the opportunity to be acquired by ArcBest. When you think about what we do very well, we traditionally are a full truckload transportation company. So we move freight from point A to point B, and you think about what's on that truck. It's one customer, one truck. That's the service that we provide to customers. We're incredible at it, but that's very one, it's one mode of multiple that customers need. ArcBest offers 19 plus solutions to customers in the market. So they have LTL, which is multiple customers on one truck. You've got expedited, air, ocean, warehousing, transportation management, things of that nature. So multifaceted. And when you look at coupling our brand and what we've been able to do in the market with a company like ArcBest that owns their own trucks, has warehousing, terminals, is an extremely successful publicly traded company, we felt like it was the right fit for us and for our people. It's been an exciting process. We're a little bit over a year in. I've learned a lot throughout it. It's been interesting to work through the integration and all the people aspects of it. But it's been an amazing opportunity to learn and work our team through that. I love telling stories about, our business and how we got to where we are. I think pictures, talk a little bit about what it was like at the core and in the beginning of starting the business. So top left, you see here, it's our first office. It's one of my favorite pictures. There are like 7 or 8 people in it. We had a small 2,500 square foot office in River North on Hubbard and Dearborn. I have a lot of really cool memories about just, being in the office early, teaching people the ins and outs of the industry really early on. And that was fundamental to the grit and determination that it takes to build and scale a company. Sometimes I think people look at where we are today and look at, some of the things that we've been able to do and think, gosh, it must have been easy. Or, you guys always had it and, you're going to be able to do what you're doing. And I'm here to tell you it was not easy. There were so many hard times, so many long nights and early mornings to make sure that our team, executed and did what we said we were going to do for our customers and for our people. But that's just stuff that builds character and teaches you the lessons that help you get to where you're going to be. In the bottom right here, another one of my favorite pictures, one of our sales managers, Kevin Berardini, is probably our 8th or 9th hire. This was the night that we moved from our first office to our second office here, which is in the top right. That's when we moved to the West Loop in August of 2018. And we moved from a 2,500 square foot office to an office that we eventually had about 30,000 square feet in, which is pretty cool. And these last pictures here really bring everything full circle. So top left there, you have the entryway of our new office in the West Loop. It's an incredible space, 167 North Green. I think it is, really cool to take a look at where we came from and where we're at today. It's by far and away the best office space in transportation. It's an incredible space for our people to come, collaborate, enjoy where they're at. Also an incredible location. Brand new building. We moved into that space in June of this year. Top right, there's a picture of us at, we have an annual company party every summer, which is a lot of fun. Since we've been remote during COVID, people don't always have the opportunity to see each other in person. So it's really, really cool for our team to be able to come together and do that. And then these pictures here at the bottom are from a couple of events we had at the office. So this is from a housewarming that we had when we opened up the office, and then a couple of people just working at our desks here. But if you have the opportunity, I'll share a link a little bit later that has a video walkthrough of our entire space in the West Loop, and it is rather revolutionary. So it's been an incredible opportunity to build and scale the business. And I love having the chance to kind of share where we're at and what we've been able to do and some of my journey. But now I want to take questions, because I think this is the most fun part of it. So I hope we've got a ton. And if not, I'll continue to share some of the stories and things of that nature.
Thank you, Will. That was great. We do have some questions for you. And the first one is, what about the MoLo journey are you most proud of?
That is such a tough question, but I love it. I would say I'm most proud of the opportunities that we've been able to create for our people. So I'll give a story. I've worked with a lot of different reps. I used to build out our training and development program, which was really cool for me because I got a chance to really work with everybody from the ground level. So you think about an entry-level hire that doesn't know anything about transportation up until someone that's been in the industry for 10 or 15 years. And for me, I've seen people come in and build their careers, right? Come in and be a new college grad that is now at the director level, or be someone that wants to come in and say, hey, I want to be our top performer in sales. And I've seen that person come in and not have a book of business, and over the last 3 or 4 years, build an incredible book of business and be able to build as an individual and really differentiate themselves and build their career. So the things that I'm most proud of really come down to the people aspects, because that to me is what gives me the most enjoyment and excitement. You get to see people come here and do something that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And that really, really excites me.
Great, great, great. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who feel defeated by early failures in their career?
So I would tell you a couple of things. One would be to make sure that you have a mentor or someone around you that you can bounce ideas or questions off of. The reason that's important is because they have been through a lot of things that you haven't so far. And so having someone that you can just use as a sounding board, develop a relationship with, is super important. The other piece I would say is that you're going to fail. It's okay. I have had so many things in my career specifically, so not entrepreneurially, but just in my career that were failures. I've had entrepreneurial ventures that were failures, one of which that I shared. It comes with the territory, but if you don't go out and try, you're never going to have the opportunity to become the person that you want to be. And what's interesting to me is that, from, let's just call it January of 2017 to July of 2017, I was the same person, right? I hadn't started a company as large and successful as MoLo at that point. And I just had to kind of take the leap of faith. And we could have failed, right? It could have been a complete disaster, and maybe it didn't work and we didn't get to where we wanted to be, but it still would have been a good story and a learning lesson. So what I would say is, don't be afraid to fail, because you're going to fail. It's okay. But they're learning lessons. Those are very important.
Thank you. You said the pandemic created a pivotal moment for MoLo. And I have to imagine there was probably some debate whether you were to stick with your current pricing or whether or not you were going to adjust to make up for some of the otherwise increased cost. How did you approach what could have been discourse in your upper management?
So that's a great question. I think that there would have been discourse in upper management for other organizations, but there was not discourse for us. And here's why that's important. When we talked about the reasons why we built this business and how we were going to do it, we always said that if we made commitments to customers, we were going to follow through with those commitments, regardless of market volatility or regardless of what everybody else was doing. And is that tough? Absolutely. It's really hard to look at current pricing and say, oh my gosh, right? We're paying 10 or 15 or 20% more than what we anticipated, right? That's really, really hard to swallow. But what's harder to deal with is losing customers and burning bridges when you have the opportunity to just stick through it and then have, thoughtful, engaging conversations with partners and say, hey, what can we do in the next RFP that's going to allow us to have a larger footprint, because we know everybody else didn't maintain their pricing, right? They came back and asked you for more money. So I think it was a pivotal part for us because everybody was on board. They said, hey, this is what we told customers we were going to do. And if you think about the moments in a business that differentiate you, like that was it for us. If we had done what everybody else did, we'd be like everybody else. And, we wouldn't be the fastest growing truckload brokers that there's been. So that was something that I think just was a testament to the values that we set and the reason why we built the business.
Creating that shared vision. Nice job.
Yeah.
One of our participants is a question. I'm always intrigued by the mindset and the evolution of the mindset of entrepreneurs through the climb from ground zero to the pinnacle. How has your mindset changed since day one to the sale to ArcBest? And what keeps you motivated personally moving forward?
That's a great question, Sean. Actually, I know Sean because he played basketball when I think it was a freshman when he was on the team. But good to hear from you. I think it's an interesting question because when you're early on in your entrepreneurial journey, you are so focused on what I would call like the effort metrics and the grind, right? So there's so much work to be done. There's almost no time that you can kind of take your eye off the ball. Customers are looking for responses. You need to go recruit people. You probably need some new piece of technology to help your team be more efficient. But you're always focused on the grind because the only thing that you have to differentiate yourself in the beginning is the work ethic, right? Like you have to continue to put the work in the beginning. But what's interesting is as you continue to scale the business, you focus the same on that level of effort, but you become better at delegating and finding the right people around you that help scale the business. So there's stuff that all of us are good at, right? In the beginning, you have to be good at all of it because there's just not enough people to kind of take care of those tasks. But as you scale the business and you become more and more mature, you actually have to get better at finding people that are more talented than you, that have a better skill set, that are better equipped to serve the business, because that's the only way for you to be able to get to where you are. So the business we are today and the people that we have in our organization are so different than what it was when we were a startup because you need different things. So I think that's something that I've had the opportunity to kind of see and understand what are my strengths, what's my mindset for where I'm going to contribute, things of that nature. It does change year over year.
Good, thank you. Was the Founders Institute worth it? We have one of our participants who got accepted to the DC cohort starting in January and still deciding if she wants to go with them.
So I think the Founders Institute is worth it if you're going to follow through with the idea that you come to the table with. So what I notice is that a lot of people come to Founder Institute, they come up with an idea, and then it's more of the process of going through Founder Institute than actually starting and scaling the business. Whereas some people come with an idea they've already been working on, and Founder Institute then becomes this support system for them to continue scaling the business. I think it's more helpful if you're very invested in the business that you come to the table with, because then you're going to continue to follow through with it. I think it's harder if it's just a project that you work through during the whole process, because I don't think you're as bought in it. I did get a lot from it. I have a lot of really good mentors, a lot of good investment resources, a lot of things that I learned. So I think it's worth it, but you have to be committed to your idea. Otherwise, you're just going to do it for the process, and then you don't really have a business to speak for afterwards.
And a follow-up question, same person who's early in their entrepreneurial venture, I can tell. How hard did you have to work to convince your co-founders to go in with you? And what did those first conversations look like? Yeah,
so interestingly enough, I was approached by Andrew to be a part of helping to build the business. So I got in April of 2017, just thinking about what's it look like to build and scale this business. And it was more challenging for recruiting other people that were employees than it was the people that we built the business with, because they were all really committed to wanting to build and scale this business. So when I think about, you know, going to recruit someone that's really talented from another organization and say, hey, we've got this business that, you know, we're 6 or 7 people, but we think we're going to be a 600-person company, right? Or, you know, we think we have the opportunity to change the industry. That's really hard because someone's at a, you know, they're at a good job and they're comfortable and they feel like they've, you know, kind of done their thing to get to where they are. And they don't want to leave that to come to this current, you know, no name company. You know, they don't feel comfortable with yet. That was really, really tough. But the people that had the opportunity to come and, you know, believed in the mission and the vision of the business are doing incredibly well today. And I'm glad that we kind of fought to get them into the organization because they've been impactful. That was way harder than people, you know, just to start the business with, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurial minded kind of see the end goal. So it's not as difficult, but getting, you know, the talent that we have, that was, you got to battle for that. It's tough.
How have you leveraged your network at IWU to advance your ventures?
So I recruit at Wesleyan quite a lot. I talk to John a lot about different entrepreneurial stuff, but I'm at the Hart Career Center and you know, doing presentations for students fairly frequently because I believe in Wesleyan a lot. You know, I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for a lot of the things that I learned at Wesleyan and, you know, the connections that I was able to make. And so the largest area of opportunity for us in our business is finding strong candidates that can continue to contribute. So we recruit from Wesleyan a ton, and it's been really, really impactful. So that's probably the piece that we leverage the most. And I've loved it. I've loved having the opportunity to, you know, offer full-time roles and internships to Wesleyan alum. And it's been really, really cool to see the impact they've had on our business.
Well, on this Giving Tuesday, we really appreciate how you've given back your time and your talents to help our students. And what's your hope for the future of entrepreneurship education, what we're building, you know, with this Petrick Idea Center, the learning by doing opportunities? What's your take on that?
I love it. I've talked to you about this before. I think it's really, really impactful for people to have a chance at an early age to build an idea, because I think you start to envision the world differently. Everything doesn't have to be linear. There's a lot of different ways to get to an end goal. And it will be fantastic for Wesleyan students to have the opportunity to work on a business while they're in school. And then maybe you go and work for an incredible organization, but the way that you attack problems will be different because you're attacking them as an entrepreneur instead of someone that just happens to work there. But I think there's more ownership with it. And that mindset shift is huge to get really, really creative, thoughtful ideas that move businesses forward. Like, you can be an entrepreneur inside of a large corporate organization, right? You don't have to be a standalone person that raises the money and does all the stuff. There's a lot of ways to impact organizations. And I think having an opportunity to have that platform at 18 or 19 years old is so transformational because you just think differently. I think about being in sales my entire life. I just have never thought linearly, right? Like, the answer might be no, but it's no today. I have to find a way to provide more value to get to that yes. And I think if you're challenging people to think that way and be more creative, you're able to come up with better ideas.
Very good. You are one of the most skilled salespeople I've had the opportunity to meet during my time here at Wesleyan, maybe even longer. And what are some of the tips and tricks that you've picked up, whether you were interviewing potential candidates at the Hart Career Center to work for you? It could have been with media, because I'm sure, as with the sale of the company, there was quite a few media interviews that took place, or even with potential investors. Talk to us about your tips and tricks.
So for people that are in sales in general, I think what's important to remember is that you have to be yourself. I've been in sales for 14 years now. It's crazy. And the best salespeople I've ever met and the people that are most skilled are themselves. They are not trying to replicate anybody else, right? You're just honest and straightforward about who you are. I don't need you to be the most outgoing person. I have really good sales professionals that are a little bit more introverted, right? I have really good sales professionals that are a little bit more analytical. So I think the first thing is, like, be yourself, because people that you're selling to can feel that, right? They understand if you're being genuine. They can read that. It's very important. The second piece is to take a more consultative approach to any conversation that you're having, because if you're listening and then responding to what they're saying, you're going to be able to get to your end goal a lot better than trying to come into the conversation and just pitch and pitch and pitch, because you don't hear what their need is. So if I'm having a conversation with John and it's about whatever project, or I'm trying to sell him whatever it might be, if I listen better and ask better questions, he's going to tell me the things that are actually a challenge. And that might not be what I came prepared to talk about, but now I can use that information to assess, move that forward, and then actually get to the end goal, which is my solution or whatever it might be. So that consultative approach is really important. And I would say those are the first two pieces. Like 2B is the art of asking good questions. Like you have to understand how to ask good questions. I had a mentor a long time ago say that the quality of your experience is predicated upon the quality of the questions that you ask. If you ask better questions, you get better answers to things that you can actually solve. So those things really matter. Less about your personality, less about trying to be like somebody else. Be yourself, but ask good questions, be consultative.
Great tips. Curiosity is a huge one, and humbleness, and the fact you may not have that solution that your customer is looking for. Great advice.
Totally.
Are there any other industries that you're interested in delving into? I mean, what's the future look like for Will Jenkins?
So it's interesting. I've never done anything longer than I have transportation. I've been in this industry for 8 going on 9 years now. And it's so fascinating because there's just so many facets of it. There's so much opportunity. It's a massive industry. So I'm not sure of what would captivate my attention the way that transportation has. I've always been interested in real estate because it's similarly a massive industry. So that might be something that piques my interest, because I just think that there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of different facets of it, whether it be buying properties, renting properties, flipping, wholesaling, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of opportunity there. But for me, transportation has so many areas in it that I think I still have a ton to learn. And that to me is interesting.
Fantastic. If there's any more questions from the group, get them submitted now. Lots of good questions. We appreciate the engagement. All right. Well, Will, we want to thank you for preparing and delivering this hugely informational and highly educational talk about your journey from idea to exit. Loved your title. We're extremely proud at Illinois Wesleyan University to have you on board and giving the way you do with your time and your talent and your treasure that we is on this Giving Tuesday. We're thankful for you to set that example and encourage anyone else as part of our audience who might be interested to, again, think about how you can contribute your time, talent, and treasure to Illinois Wesleyan University. We'd like to thank our audience for your engagement and attending and asking such great questions. And if that is all the questions that we have, looks like our questions have been closed. We want to thank everybody for attending, and hope that you'll tune in for our next Titan Talks Innovation Series after the first of the year. Everybody have a great holiday season. Students, good luck on finals as they come up. Will and I will be thankful we don't have finals coming up, and wish you all a very good holiday season. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Take care.